How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Supporters Club. This one was meant to be asking the question whether Arsenal are starting to move like a big club, like we should be moving as the big club we are, post William Saliba signing his contract, because that was massive for us. Tying down William Saliba for a 4 or 5 year deal was integral and is as big as any signing we could have made this summer. But with the recent Rice news having a bid rejected and us supposedly pulling out of Caicedo and no longer being interested in the 21-year-old, I'm not too sure if that question is the best question to be asked. There's question marks about that question right now. And I've got the legend with me, Chris Hudson, in the building. What are you saying, Chris?
Typical Arsenal summer, possibly, but we'll see.
Possibly. We're going to talk. And Nick Francis, is it your first time on Supporters Club?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, first time on Supporters Club. Always happy to be here. And yeah, I feel 50-50.
50-50. We're going to delve into it. We might as well just go straight in. Let's start with the William Saliba one. Let's start with the big plus so far, because we haven't spoken in a little while about it. But Chris, you know, on Supporters Clubs in the past, dating back to January, a few months ago, we talked about the importance of not only tying down Saka and Martinelli, but William Saliba too, having loaned him out for the first 3 years of a 5-year deal. It was integral to get that contract over the line. So once that news broke, how was you feeling?
I was over the moon, because he's possibly the best centre-half in Europe, potentially.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the last time. I'm worried about his injury, though. I've still got that nagging.
The back injury.
I pray to God that he's fit and ready to go in August.
Keep our fingers crossed.
We're over the moon. You know, we've got to keep our quality players, because we find it hard enough getting new ones in. But yeah.
Well, are you one of those worried about the length of the deal? Because with Saka, a lot of people saying 4 years. And
football these days, you could sign a 5-year contract. Everyone, he'd be gone.
Means nothing.
That means nothing to me now.
Yeah, Nick, cast your mind back to about 10 days ago now, when that news broke that William Saliba has signed. It hasn't been made official yet, but it's as official as it can be without being, you know, published on the Arsenal website.
It's huge, because people were giving Arteta a lot of flack and saying, oh, you know, the players don't want to stay with him. He can't manage young players. His relationship with Saliba's damaged. Saliba's going to go. That clearly isn't true. And I've said to you before that the future of the club is not just in who we buy, which we're going to talk about today, but also in selling any talent that we have at optimal value. And that's what this deal does. If Saliba does a year or two with us more, he's still got 2 years on his contract and he continues to play well, that could easily be a £70 million, £80 million sale in a couple of years' time. So tying down these really good quality young players is really crucial to the long-term development of the club. But in the short term, it's just good to have him here for next season.
And I agree. And on the length of the contract, I think the players are protecting themselves somewhat, but their goals and vision align with mine as an Arsenal fan, and it should align with every Arsenal fan in that we want to be continually competing. We want to be challenging. We want to be winning majors. And if we do that in the next 2 years, tying down Saka again to a new contract, Martinelli, Saliba, you know, should be quite an easy thing to do, because we are where we need to be, where we should be at Arsenal Football Club. So those align with my feelings over the next few years. So we'll see how that goes. They're all tied down now. That's the positive news out the way, people. Let's go into the dark clouds that have, you know, started hovering over. And listen, it's still very early. It's still day one or day two, depending on when this video comes out, or the transfer window being open. Rice bid made. Let's start with that one. Months of negotiations. I think we all know the price tag West Ham want in and around 100 million. Our first bid, Chris, has been rejected.
80 million, and that's not good. West Ham, you're dealing with Karen Brady and Sullivan. I mean, they're not mugs. They're right good financial operators. See, the thing is, you want him, so you don't go in with. People say, oh, well, your first bid's got to be. Just for once, Arsenal, just go in and make the deal. I was thinking, for Declan Rice, it'd be the biggest signing since Sol Campbell, England international. Before Sol Campbell, Ian Wright. Before Ian Wright, Malcolm McDonald. Before Malcolm McDonald, Adam Ball. He'd been on that line of massive England international signings. Adam Ball was as big as Declan Rice is now. Righty was a significant sign. You know what I mean? Just get it done, Turkish. I don't want a summer. I don't want another saga, mate.
Another one, because we've become used to those summers, Chris.
I just don't want it. You know, it just wears you out. And then I'm getting fed, and also, I don't know if you know in the media, why does he want to go to Arsenal? I'm getting fed up with that.
Yeah.
Adrian Durham, sideways move. Harry Redknapp put his oar in the other day. And it's going to prove them right, isn't it? If we don't get him, they're going to say, well, we told you so.
Yeah.
It's so important because it sends a massive message. If we sign Declan Rice, he's a generational talent. $100 million Declan Rice ain't a lot of money.
No, in this
It's
market.
10 million
In this
10
market,
years.
it's not when you look at the price tags of all these players going.
He's just a quality footballer.
24
Don't
years
keep-
of age.
You're not messing. You're not dealing with idiots.
Yeah.
Don't
Nick.
try and mug West Ham off, Turkish. Seriously.
No, that's, you know, a lot of West Ham fans online are up in arms about our first bid, saying it's disrespectful and so on. I don't think an 80 million bid is disrespectful, but what I think is, and I agree with Chris here, is if this is the player you want, this is the primary target this summer. Get it done, because we've got other areas we need to focus on, Nick. How do you feel about that first bid being rejected after months of supposed talks with West Ham?
Yeah, it's frustrating, and I'll tell you what, it's, you know, when we talk about clubs having a recruitment strategy, this is what we're talking about. For a long time, Arsenal have been buying young, up-and-coming talent where they can haggle over the price. Not only is he a top talent, like Chris said, but he is somebody that you know other people are going to be looking at. With Gabby Jesus, there weren't many people looking at him. With Zinchenko, there weren't many people looking at him. We relied heavily on Arteta's relationship to get those deals over the line. Now we're going into territory where this club hasn't been before, or hasn't been for a very long time. Probably ever £100 million signings.
Yeah.
This is not regular stuff for Arsenal, and Edu and that don't have this experience. And so the word I would use for it is naive, actually, to go in and underbid, knowing, and maybe we've been focused so much on the player, personal terms agreed for months, but we pay good wages, one of the highest paying wages football clubs in the world. We know we can pay him the wages. We know that that's not going to be a problem. And I agree with Chris, this idea of sideways move and stuff is frustrating. I will say, I respect West Ham. They said 100 million a long time ago, and they've stuck to it. They haven't even moved it up after they've won a European trophy. They haven't said, right, that's 120 million now. No, it's still 100 million, the same 100 it was in January,
Yep.
and the same 100 it's always been. That's what it is. And we really risk getting them to walk away from the table and inviting in now competition. And that's the biggest problem I have. An underbid invites competition. We just need it to be smooth. The only reason other people are now having this conversation about Declan Rice is because we haven't gone and got him right the first time when we should have.
Opening the door.
We've opened the door for that.
So straight after the news about the Rice bid being rejected, Nick, there was rumours, and they're literally just rumours at the moment. Take it with a pinch of salt that Manchester City are interested. Do you believe that, or do you think that's part of a play to make us pay the money we need to pay?
I think both. You can see both sides. Rodri's getting a little bit older, although he's a fantastic defensive midfielder. Their understudy defensive midfielder is not great and just not up to scratch. Rice is an upgrade on Calvin Phillips. That's just a fact.
It's a given.
You know, even if it is a tactic to get us to pay, we've opened the door to getting manipulated in the media. This wouldn't have happened if we'd gone in with 95 million plus 10 million in bonuses or something like that, got really close, really getting them to answer a question. And we haven't done that. That being said, the window only opened yesterday, but we have to be really smart. With these key signings, we've got a really young team. This would be possibly the oldest, the most experienced player that we're probably going to bring in this summer. Anyone else we bring in, we probably expect to be a little bit younger, you know, more like up-and-comers. This is something that is potential captain material, not just for us, but for England in the future. This is one we have to get over the line as quickly as possible. We need him in the club, working with these players as long as possible.
What did Arteta say at the end of the season? We got to really nail it this summer.
Yeah.
So,
Well, do you think that was him applying the necessary
big
pressure
time,
to the
yeah,
people
of course
above?
it is, yeah. But
Yeah,
I like to think. What I like to think they're all one team. You know, and they all sit in the room. Who we're going to go? He shouldn't have to apply pressure, really, should he?
No, but we know what it's like, Chris. You know.
This is why we lose out on players. If you look at Trossard, as soon as it was very un-Arsenal-like, but as soon as he had a disagreement with the manager, bang, stepped in straight away.
Yeah.
You know, from the moment we heard about it to the moment it was done, it was 2-3 days. It was done really quickly. These things can happen. And when you're up at the thing is, when you're competing, now we've come second, and we didn't win the title, but we're title challengers. We're right back in that mix. Champions League football. Everybody we're competing with has got money.
Yeah.
Everybody we're competing with has got money. They're not going to haggle. We're now competing with the likes of, you know, Man City, your Man United, your Chelsea's. These clubs have a lot of money to spend, and if they do prefer a player, and we are stalling, then we're going to lose that player.
How important is it? Because I refer to this quite a bit, that Arsenal never, we've never really flexed in a transfer window. And by flexed, I mean we're a massive club, got a massive fan base, loyal fan base. We make a hell of a lot of money. Over the last few years, our wage bill has been cleaned essentially. Yes, we still pay a lot of wages, as do all Premier League clubs, with the money that we get through advertising and commercial aspects and all of that. How important is it to, indicate to a Manchester City that we are here and we're here to stay, and it wasn't just a flash in the pan season last year?
Well, it's massively important, because you can see the reaction to a lot of other clubs, because we want Rice. What do you want to go to Arsenal for? Because they're worried.
Yeah.
If we got Rice, all these other clubs, they'd think, hold on, Arsenal do mean business here.
It's about time we do show that we mean business.
It sends out a massive message to us.
What about you, Nick? You think it's big, or do you think it's overstated how big
No, it can't be overstated. We saw towards the back end of the season, last season, Caicedo, who we tried to get in January, playing right back.
Yeah.
And he was an amazing right back. And we struggled because we didn't have cover for Ben White and Saliba. Ben White was playing all his games. Had we got those transfers over the line, we could be looking at a very different situation. We may well have won the title, not just because of Caicedo, but Ben White can step into centre-back. Caicedo can play at right back. He can also cover for when there's problems there. Jorginho could step in, and if we've got Mudryk over the line, then we've got Trossard in the end. It's not the end of the world there, but that is the difference. Those things can really, really be the difference. When we're going and getting big name players, they're going to step up, play multiple positions, be very versatile. We still don't know if Declan Rice comes in as a 6. Is Partey going? Is he coming in as an 8? With Xhaka looking at leaving? We don't know, but we know that this is the guy the manager wants, and we have to back the manager. Chelsea went and spent £100 million on a player they didn't even know anything about to stop us from getting him, because there is a level, we can laugh now and say we bottled the league last season, but there is a level of intimidation because they can see the trajectory is going upwards. It was always written in the stars for Rice to go to Chelsea. That's where we come from. And so the idea, this idea of him coming to us is relatively new. Last few months, since January or maybe something like that, we've been looking at this. But we have to get these things over the line. And it makes us look like a small club. It makes it look like players don't want to come to us when that's not true. We are fumbling it ourselves.
And all in all, it makes us not look too serious in terms
100%.
of building on what we nearly achieved last season.
It don't look good on Edu. He's the transfer
I was going to ask that. I mean, we'll move on to Caicedo after this one, because I was going to move on to Caicedo, but you mentioned Edu. If the transfer window doesn't go as planned or as expected for us fans, Chris, who are you looking at? Is it like me, the owners? Is it like many others, Edu? Is it like a few others, Arteta? Who would you look at?
I'll be looking at Edu and the owners.
Yeah.
But I am led to believe the money is there. It's about getting the deals over the line.
So you think it kind of predominantly sits with Edu?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
What about you, Nick?
I think it's both. I think the Mudryk deal fell apart. I know he hasn't been amazing at Chelsea, but if we assume that's the player that Arteta wanted, right? And I do believe he would have been a lot better under Arteta than at that madhouse.
You can't
of
judge
a
it like
club,
how many
right?
fans are judging
Exactly.
it now.
So we know that came down to the structure of the payments, not the money. Who does that come down to? Yes, it comes down to Edu. He submits the proposals, but also it comes down to the Cronkies, because as soon as that gets pushed back, they could say, no, don't worry about it. Go, give it. Do the X amount of millions up front. So it comes down to both of them. They are a cohesive unit. They are all that transfer department together. It doesn't come down to the manager, because the manager's going out and identifying talent. I want this player, this player, this player. And like I say, we did really well in January to get our plan B options in and come through and survive. But had we got our plan A options in, we would have stood a much better chance of winning the league. Then we can go again in January. I was looking at Man City, who are already super rich. They've earned nearly 300 million in prize money from winning the treble.
Yeah.
And they don't need that money. We need that money.
Yeah.
So if we can get those players over the line, that difference in structure of payment could cost us 100 million, 150 million further down the line, and then we could go in, and then nobody would be saying, why would Rice go to Arsenal? Suddenly Rice wants to come to Arsenal, all these players want to come to Arsenal, and that's how we get back on top. At some point, we've been pretty comfortable as a club in terms of Edu and the owners. They've been fairly comfortable through this Lokonga and Tavares. Now it's time to really push. Do you know what I mean? And they've got to do something different. Clearly what they've done in the past hasn't worked.
They've got to step it up.
And it's not like we're sitting there. We haven't got till September the 1st.
Yeah.
Another
want them
Arteta
in
quote.
early.
He wants them in for the pre-season.
Which is important. We saw how important last season, last
and
summer
that's
was.
4 weeks away, mate.
Even less then, really.
So, you know.
You'd want him to come in and you know, bed in and then appear in pre-season in the US. I'd love to see them out there.
But we still haven't sold anyone, have we?
So we struggle with that as well over the years. We struggle with that. It's part and parcel of what I expect in transfer windows now. I was going to mention, you know what, let me mention a typical response from a lot of Arsenal fans about the, you know, realism of certain transfers and so on, you know. I'll throw Mbappe's name in the hat as well, and you know, we know his situation right now and how it's looking for him, and PSG not willing to let him go down his last year of his contract and leave on a free. Rice and Caicedo being another example. Together, a lot of Arsenal fans will say it's not realistic to spend 180 million on just those two players. But are they understating the size of this club? Are they understating the value of the Kroenkes? Because the Kroenkes, when you look at rich lists in football, they're in the top 10. Off the top, they might be top 5, but they're definitely in the top 10. Is it unrealistic to want us to put in an offer for an Mbappe? Is it unrealistic to expect the Rice and Caicedo over the line, even if it touches 200 million?
Because Arsenal fans, we're all programmed. We've got to be the only fan base in the world who worry about how much we're spending.
Yeah.
Because we very rarely spend that sort of big money.
They got us where they want us.
I can't admit I'm like that. But and I was thinking, why am I? It's not my money.
Yeah.
But Arsenal, we are programmed to be like that. And let me tell you, that goes back years. It really, even when we bought Adam Ball for £220,000, it was an English-British record transfer fee. No one believed it. And we always say to ourselves, oh, we won't be in for him. It's Chelsea, Man City, Mbappe. Say he was available, everyone would go to Chelsea. No one would mention he'd go to Arsenal. But in fact, we have got the money to buy him if the Kroenkes really wanted to.
Of course.
But that's a dream. We can't. Until I get to see Rice in an Arsenal shirt, I'm not going to see Mbappe, am I?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you don't hear City fans talking about FFP. You don't hear Chelsea fans talking about FFP.
We're the only
United
club
fans.
it does.
It's us that know the ins and outs of FFP so much that we use it to, you know, stand back from these big deals.
Yeah.
Nick?
I think just off the back of what Chris is saying, again, like I said, it comes also down to sales. If we've got 250 million the Kroenkes can put up, we know they can put that up. But we don't sell well enough. You know, we've got Holding going, he might get 10. Eddie, we turned down 15 for him. Smith Rowe, we turned down 40 from Aston Villa. I love Smith Rowe. We turned down 40 from Aston Villa. If we tried to sell him right now, lucky to get 20. You know, so if we were in a position where we cashed in on these players, let's say we sold Smith Rowe for 40, 45. There was a time when teams wanted Eddie for 20. If we signed William Saliba and he has a great season, and we know, nobody else knows, but we know he's still got lower back issues, and actually a club comes in for him next year for 80 and we go and sell him for 80, we tack that on to the 250 the owners can put up, and now we've got a real war chest. So the reason that we're so conservative is because we just do not sell very well. Do you know what I mean? Our biggest sales are still Mark Overmars and Alex Iwobi and Oxlade-Chamberlain. There are 3 biggest sales ever. All of our top players leave for free.
Yeah.
Or we pay them to leave. We're that bad at getting them out of the door. And until that is sorted, we're not going to see big name world stars. Declan Rice is a big name in the Premier League, but world level stars, your Bellinghams and your Mbappes and these guys, unless we build them. That's why we're so committed to building them, Chris, because we know we're not going to go out and buy them.
I mean, Henry was a world star, but
we built him.
Nearly all, you know, Anelka, all them. We built them up.
Yeah.
That's a good point. We've never been at the table for now. Possibly we nearly signed Maradona once, but that's nearly.
Yeah. And look, we're laughing about it.
Even now, when we're second, you know, Chelsea have no European football, and we're second. We have to seize this moment. We have to make sure. Exactly. None of us think it was a fluke, but let's say it was a fluke. We have to really capitalise on this moment and do everything we can to stay there, because we can easily be 5th next season.
Because it can change just like that. Chelsea, when they were Champions League winners, it was probably a lot more attractive proposition in terms of footballing terms than they are now. They're an attractive proposition now because they spend a hell of a lot of money and they'll give players what they want weekly. Yeah. But it can just change in a blink of an eye. Yeah. We finished second. We was the closest competition to Manchester City throughout the 38 games. that there's no divine right that happens again next season.
Absolutely.
You know, we don't know what next season's going to hold. So seizing the moment is key. I think that is key to what Arteta's done over the last 3 years. And that's why I look and say, it's over to you. And when we talk about value, 250 million, I want to spend in 250, 300 net spend, you know, with player sales included, albeit it'll be dribs and drabs from a Pepe and a Holding and maybe a Eddie. Well, not so much Eddie because it doesn't look like he is on the list, but players that I would have wanted to potentially see the back of. I want 250, 300 million minimum net spent because it's about seizing the moment. We haven't been in this position since moving into the Emirates. You know, when we moved into the Emirates, I didn't envision 20 years later fans telling me that that's not realistic. That's not realistic. Be a bit more realistic. We moved into the Emirates to be able to compete. In their words, it was Gazidis, yes, he's not here no more, but he was part of the club. In their words, to compete at the highest level with the best clubs. And we've been so far off that now is the time to really show with full ownership whether you are serious about this now.
It's got to be one of the most infamous quotes in Arsenal's history. We've moved to compete with Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
And then they whacked us.
10-2 over 2 legs.
I'll never ever forget that.
Yeah, I would have my first appearance on AFTV, Chris.
Gazidis.
Yeah.
The most infamous quote of all time.
Yeah.
Be
excited is up there as well.
I think it starts with us also emotionally detaching from certain players. I do it myself. We all do it.
Fans do.
You know, we're so emotional as a fan base. Looks like Reece Nelson's going to stay. I'm very happy about that. Reece Nelson isn't someone that's demonstrated Champions League pedigree. Yeah. What we should be doing, and again, I'm talking about myself, I'm not talking about whoever you are watching this. I'm happy Reece is staying because I love him. But what we should be doing is going, okay, can we fetch 35 million for him? Can we add another 30 on top of that, 65 million? Can we go and get a Champions League experienced winger to come in and come and do a job who can push Martinelli can learn from, he's been there and done it, etc., etc., etc. Can we do that? We're not doing that. We're going, we like you, part of the academy, it's part of the romanticism of the story, and so he's going to stay. Have we ever seen Reece Nelson do it in the Champions League? I hope he can, and I hope, you know, he did it against Bournemouth. One late goal against Bournemouth could change the trajectory of his career. Hopefully he kicks on, but we are very much relying on emotion to carry us through rather than logic. There is nothing logically to show you that Reece Nelson's going to go and tear it up in the Champions League next season.
He's £100,000 a week. I mean,
that's what I'm reading. Yeah.
Even I should think a Maddison or Harvey Barnes at Leicester's not even up. What would they be on? 50, 60?
Well, Leicester potentially.
It's an amazing contract, you know. I've got to tell you.
He would never have been on that at Brighton.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So
it shows it don't add up, does it? Do you understand?
It seems like we go for the safer option more than the necessary risk. I just mentioned it on the live we've done about Caicedo. There's necessary risks you have to take, not only in football but in life, to be able to achieve the somewhat unachievable at times, to be able to progress. If this whole, you know, trust the process is to be believed, if these whole phase 1 to 5 is to be believed, surely if we're at phase 4, now is the time to take these necessary risks. There's no we could sign Caicedo, we could sign Rice and still finish second. We could finish 4th.
Yeah.
But I'm tired of having windows where we don't try hard enough. When was the last time we went into a league season saying we're going to challenge for the league? Because we didn't say that the last season. It just happened.
If we finish 4th next season, we finish 4th. But we want to finish 4th, having sat there and said we did everything that we could. And now we're sitting here having finished second, looking back at January saying, realistically, we didn't do everything we could have.
Yeah.
We didn't do everything. We did a very good plan B, and second is a very good place because people didn't expect us to finish top 4. The expectations were that low. But can Kroenke and Edu look themselves in the mirror and go, you know what, I broke my back and did everything to win that league title? No. That's the truth. You know what I mean? It's almost like, I use the analogy of like going from middle school to big school. And you're almost, it's like better the devil you know. You know, they don't want to make new friends. You know, should we have cashed in? We didn't sell Smith Rowe, and again, I love Smith Rowe. We didn't sell Smith Rowe for £40 million. He made 6 appearances this season or something like that, less than 10 appearances. You know, where was he?
Yeah.
Couldn't see it. So that's not a good use of money. That's £40 million that's just sitting on the bench. Doesn't make any sense.
Maitland-Niles, another one, 20 million bid a few years ago from Wolves, I think. Yep. Eddie Nketiah, 15, 20, I think as well. A bid was made. We failed to act upon it.
60, 70 million. That money that they haven't used because the money's not there, that's the difference between the structure of the payments that would have got us Mudryk or could have got us Caicedo or would now go and get us Declan Rice. that money should be in the kitty.
Yeah, ready to go.
Ready to go.
Yeah. What about the Caicedo stuff? I mean, there's loose reports that we've cooled our interest. Did I believe there was much interest this summer? No, there's not much evidence apart from our bids in January. But this summer, I haven't seen much more than Arsenal fans talking Caicedo and all of this nonsense.
Caicedo, I haven't seen that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, Twitter. I don't even want to promote Twitter to you, but stay off it. How do you feel about the potential cooled interest in Caicedo?
Well, he tells me that they're going to, the money, say they was going to buy both, but perhaps they've realised they can't afford both, and they're going to put some of that money in.
This is where the programming comes in
to
again.
get Rice over the line. But the interesting thing on Soccer Saturday, Tim Sherwood, he said, I know, everyone's got their opinion, and he said this, and I thought, he said Arsenal should stay well clear of Caicedo, because he mentioned last summer Basuma was the thing.
Yeah, we did one.
What a disaster he was. But you don't know, it's all ifs and buts, and
it's fine.
The thing is, they're two totally different players, and also we're two totally different clubs. Basuma could have come to Arsenal and been really successful. When I look at Mudryk at Chelsea, I just think that if he was at Arsenal, where he probably wouldn't be starting, he'd come off the bench, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, he'd be with two young talented wingers like himself. There's more of a family feel there. I think he would perform much, much better at Arsenal, and I think the same for Caicedo coming in. We've got a much better structure. When they signed Basuma, I think they changed manager as well early on in that season. So, there's a lot of different things there, but yeah, we have to operate a lot smarter, and we have to look a lot further down the line.
There must be a reason why we pulled that.
Yeah, I'm hoping, like you say, with the programming, I'm hoping that means, okay, they've gone, okay, we're not going to get Rice for 90, we're going to have to pay the 100, let's stop with Caicedo, let's get Rice. Ideally, we want both, but if we can just get at least one of these guys, and then, then we can start to move the other jigsaw pieces around. But we need to get, if we come out of this window with neither of those defensive midfielders, that will be an embarrassment.
Yeah, because it's not the first time that Arsenal have made bids for a player, and 6 months later we're not interested anymore. Awar is one of them, for example. Vlahovic from last January is another. Now it's Caicedo, it seems. It just doesn't make sense to me. If you're willing to bid 70 million in a January window for Caicedo, and he's available for 80, 85, 90 in the summer, what's the big difference?
The thing is as well, like there's a lot of work that goes into how do we establish the value of a football player. And what other clubs do and what we allow them to do is to use us we do all the groundwork, all the research, all the smaller bids, and then they realise, if you're Man City or Chelsea, whoever you wait, and you go, okay, cool, now we know it's only one email, it's one phone call. Actually now, cheers Turkish, you've done all the hard work, you've gone and looked at a house, you found all the little dents and scratches, you've done all the background research, and now I know this is the offer I have to put in to get the house. Cheers for that, mate. And we really get used in that way. So if we are going to do that level of groundwork, we have to get a deal over the line in the end. We have to.
Dare I ask about Havertz?
Well, I do find it interesting.
Interesting is the word, because I don't understand it.
I'm trying to make a case for him because he can play in multiple positions. I don't know. He'd be a good squad filler, but not his 70 million.
No, because that he's spending 50 on him.
Not even, that's too much.
If I'd look at, hold on, can't we better use those funds? Should we remain in for Caicedo? Because, surely...
It is strange, but he can play multiple positions. And remember what Arteta said, he wants players that can play in multiple positions.
Flexibility. Nick, how do you feel about those links?
They bought him for 75 million. He's been broadly disappointing in the eyes of Chelsea fans. If we spend 75 million on him, I will struggle to even support this. Any of it.
You're not supporting phase 4.
I just can't. I mean, we were told as well, like a lot of the time as well, I know these things are developing, but we were getting messages from the club that the central midfield positions were the key positions we needed to fill, and that actually we'd like a striker, but it's not super important. There's a case there that he can cover Saka and cover Jesus. There's a case to be made. My question is he's tall, he's quick, he's a winger, plays on the right-hand side, kind of laid-back, relaxed body language, not super intense. Is he too dissimilar to Nicola Pepe, who's already on our books? I don't see that as who was also 70 odd million pounds. Is that a huge? I'm a little bit bemused by that. I'm struggling to understand it when we've got him there and probably won't generate a huge amount of money for a sale there. So I don't really get. I don't get it at all.
I nearly got worried there when you started off with Tool, because on Twitter yesterday I saw one of the big Arsenal accounts tweet the key attraction. This is word for word quote. The key attraction to Havertz is his body.
What?
Yeah, that was my reaction. So when Nick started with Tool, I thought, well, where are we going with this? But then, yeah, I understand
he defends
that
him a little
more.
bit. I mean, how many managers have Chelsea had since he's been there?
4, and 2 of those being Lampard's.
Perhaps you're in defence of him a little bit.
In the 4 years that he's been there, nobody has really looked good.
Yeah.
Necessarily at that, apart from maybe Thiago Silva, but no one's really looked really
even under
good.
Tuchel, who's looked at as the best manager of the lot.
Arteta obviously thinks he can get a tune. So we've got to be careful of dissing players before we sign them. I think we should have all learned our lesson about that.
Yeah, and that's got a part to play for sure, because there's been signings over the last 2 years where I've looked at and I thought, what are we doing here?
The classic example was Ramsdale.
Yeah, and White, and both of them combined.
Yeah, I do trust Arteta can get a tune out of a player. We have to,
Yeah.
I trust Arteta to get the best out of a player. I don't trust Arteta with regards to the money, which again, it's our programming, right? But like you said, you said it perfectly. But Arteta's never managed at this level. He's never managed in the Champions League. Come into us when we had no European football and we'd actually been out of European football completely. We were sort of on the backslide. So now it's rarefied air for him to go and start spreading around. He doesn't even at Manchester City, they never spent this type of money on players. They've only started spending over 80, 90 million since he's left. Yeah. So this is a complete new atmosphere for him. And I don't know how much he falls in love with the idea of a player and then we'll get him at any cost. And sometimes at the behest, because he spent so much money here, we can't get that player over there. So that's really what I'm worried about, because we know how the club operate around transfers. In terms of once the player gets into the club, I have complete faith that he can get something out of him. I still think if we had Mudryk, if we had Caicedo, any of these players, I think he'll get the best out of them.
Yeah.
But he has to use them for a start, but I think that he'll get the best out of them for sure.
All right, we're going to wrap it up now. Before we wrap it up, just a one-word answer here. Regarding the next 6 weeks before the season starts, are you optimistic or are you pessimistic about this window, Chris?
I'm optimistic.
Optimistic. Nick?
Optimistic.
I live pessimistic, so I'm gonna remain there, because I've got heavy doubts about these owners, and now is the time that they really can show. They're in the position to show without any excuses.
Well, I don't think they can afford not to.
Well, you'd expect
there's no
that,
repercussions,
Chris,
though, Chris. What do you mean they can't afford?
Well,
there's no repercussions. It's just like how I don't know, Tottenham fans will say, they'll wait for a good result and then put the season tickets up, something like that. Our owners will flirt with players that are 80, 90 million and go, honestly, we tried. And maybe they put these offers in, if I'm being really cynical, maybe they put offers in structured payments that they know are going to get rejected so they can go and get the £20 million offer.
Well, I know you want to wrap it. I'll tell you why. Because, quote, manager, we have to nail it. And I'd like to remind everyone that Arteta's only got 2 years left on his contract. So they'll be obviously wanting to negotiate with him.
Yeah.
And if they want him to stay...
That's a good point.
And if they've let him down, forget whether they've let us three down or the whole Arsenal fan base. It ain't going to look good, is it?
No, it won't. That's who they invested in, and with 2 years left, now's the time for them to prove it. Chris, love as always for coming on. Nick, thank you. First time on supporters. Have you got your own channel, Nick?
Yeah, at Nick J Francis on Instagram and on YouTube as well. Yeah,
we'll put that in the description. Chris, he's on Twitter. He's on Supporters Club. He will be continuing on Supporters Club moving forward. Hope you like the discussion, people. Hit the like button. Let's get up to 1,000 likes. And I want to read your comments in the comment section. Thoughts right now, a couple of days now the transfer window has opened. Rice been rejected. Caicedo links called. Havertz interest. Are you optimistic or are you pessimistic? Let me know in the comment section. Hit the like button, and love for the love, people. This has been the Supporters Club. Peace. We're out.
Shop for AFTV merch at shop.aftv.co.uk. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat and Twitch. We've got content for every platform, so check it out.